Good morning, Year 6, and today is Friday, the 5th of March, and it's your final day of remote learning. So, this is going to be a last chance to think about solving missing angle problems and drawing on all the information that you have gained across the week. So, have those things to remember: the angles on a straight line around the point, those lines that intersect, and the angles within polygons. As always, we're going to be unpicking the question first and to help us understand it, and then going on to solving the problem and showing our understanding through the use of a bar model. Okay, so by now you will have completed your arithmetic paper and marked that, and we have this problem to have a look through and think through what we notice and the angle facts that we might be able to use to help us explore this problem further. So you will find this on your sheet for today for you to have a look at, the things that you can notice and any facts you can find. So that's your first task, to have a look. Pause the video, and by now you should be starting to annotate lots of information around this diagram. Okay, so welcome back, and we are going to be now looking at some of the things that I've pulled out that might help you start to unpick the information that you need for this problem. So firstly, I've been looking at the fact that I can see that there looks like there are two intersecting squares actually on this diagram. And I can see within those intersecting squares what looks like we have some right angles. Oops, not very clearly done there. Trying to make it better. Got some right angles there. On the sides. I've just identified two, but you will have seen that there are some more on there. And those right angles are 90 degrees. Now on this diagram, it doesn't have that symbol, and sometimes it won't have that, it's an extra bit, but if it does have that symbol, that's a surefire knowledge that it's going to be 90 degrees. But I can see there that we've got our intersecting squares, and there's a 90-degree angle actually on all of the four vertices there. So let's go on to some more information that we can see. Well, yes, you might have already spotted along the bottom here, we have a straight line and some angles along it. So you can see some of them that are labelled, some of them we know, we've just been talking about, but there are some straight lines within it. So that might be some information that you pulled out. Something else you might have seen is that you can see, now I'm going to have to do this in a different colour so you can just about spot it if you've not found it yet, is we've just got along the bottom here, see if I can draw it as clearly as I can, we've got a triangle shape, and we know that this triangle's interior angles will add up to 180 degrees. So that was something we might want to hold on to, particularly as I can see there's an angle drawn in here, so might be one of the questions we're being asked. We can see that we have some squares. We know that the interior angles of a square are 360 degrees. In fact, any four-sided polygon, any quadrilateral will be 360, or total 360 degrees is the interior angles. Being aware that we've got some overlapping, so maybe that fact will be helpful and won't be helpful, but there's something to note down in there. Just missed my last two lines. We've got our triangles, and we've got potentially some information about these squares that are intersecting across with a shape inside, which is maybe where we've got here. Now, oh, this is quite useful. I'm going to do this in a different colour. We've got some here. Now, they're not labelled on here, but we've got some here, some parts where we've got intersecting on them. I'm just going to put a little cross where the lines intersect, where they cross, in fact. And either side, trying to do a different colour, we have got some opposite angles. So you've got these two opposite angles there, and this opposite angle being equal there. So we've got some information. I'm just going to use a different colour here. So we've got opposite angles here that might be quite useful, and over here, and spotted an opposite angle there and there. So lots of places where I can see that the opposite angles are equal because the lines are intersecting. So that might be quite useful information to draw upon. And one of the other things I pulled out is I can see, and you've probably spotted it now because we've looked at this diagram quite a lot, is you can see that in the middle of this diagram we have actually got, I'm trying to draw it with that so it's clearer for you, we've actually got a quadrilateral, and we know that the interior angles of a quadrilateral equal 360 degrees, which we've talked about when we talked about the squares that were on this diagram also. So there's lots of information here that will help us to begin to approach this problem. So my next question for you is, and it's on your sheet, is what could the questions be that we are being asked to complete? Pause the video and note down what you might be thinking we're asked to do. Okay, so some of you might have said that we're going to be looking for this angle, possibly. We might be looking for this angle here. There's some angles here and here mentioned, putting lots of information on the chart here. You can see lots of things. So maybe those are the things we're going to be asked to look for. Perhaps we're going for an easier one. What's the angle up here? Or perhaps we're looking one of the ones that are not labelled, this angle here on this vertices here. So I'm not sure what we're going to be asked, but there's lots of potential and there's lots of information that we've got that will help us unpick what we'll actually need to do to get to the answer. Some of the information, however, is not there and is needed to be able to complete any of these missing angle questions. So here is, in fact, some of the information we're given. It says, as you can see, and we were talking about this a little bit, we've got that this shows two overlapping squares and a straight line. It doesn't actually mention the fact that there's a triangle in there, but there's a straight line along the bottom, as you can see. We know something about straight lines, we know something about squares, we know something about actually the triangle and the quadrilateral that are on this diagram. And we now know that we have got some information already given to us about the size of some of the angles on this diagram. So that's quite a useful starting point. And it's asking us to calculate two angles on here, the angle X and the angle Y. Now, I'm not going to go through how you'll get the answer to this question, but you will know from our previous diagram, and you will have hopefully been jotting down your own information facts, there is lots of things that we can find out, we can know already to help us find out the answers to this question. The fact that we've got intersecting lines, that we've got opposite angles being the same, we've got angles along a straight line, we've got squares where we're going to have right angles in each vertices. We're going to be having that 90 degrees, so that gives you a real big clue there. So there's lots of information, and there's obviously the checking points that we've got a triangle and the interior angles all total up to 180, and we've got a quadrilateral here where the interior angles will all total up to 360. So I'm giving you some of that information again for you to draw upon to help you with this. So the next stage of the problem is to answer it and solve it and display it using a bar model so that you can show how you've arrived at the answers to X and Y. And then the problem gets slightly adapted for question 2, 3 and 4. I appreciate this is question 4 in the middle, but if you work yourself way round, as you would do on a dip and pick card that we've done before. And there's the answers as your normal. And then it goes on to some more complex missing angle problems, but just remember, do that loads of annotation, forget the writing at the beginning before you start. Just what do you know, what can you see, what information will be helpful to you to be able to solve this problem, and you'll be advantaged with this next task, this next challenge, in fact, because there is obviously some angles being labelled, so they give you some information that you didn't have on the first one. So with all of that in mind, you now need to go off and do your task, and please send it in to your class teacher. And we really look forward to seeing you next week. Goodbye for now.